Hey guys, I got another review coming to you, and this time it's a knife review. And for the record, I'm not a knife expert. I'm not like one of those guys who knows everything about knives, like Cutlery Lover or We All Juggle Knives, or even Nuttin' Fancy. If you want to watch really high quality, very knowledgeable reviews on knives, I highly recommend checking out those guys' YouTube channels. But for the guys who follow my channel, you know, I have a couple knives here I want to show you guys because I'm just interested in these knives. And obviously it's a Benchmade. As you can see here, I have the Benchmade catalog. I picked this up at SHOT Show a couple weeks ago. And my buddy, Officer Mike, we'll call him, let me borrow 3 of his Benchmade knives for this video. And to tell you the truth, now that he let me borrow them, I don't want to give them back. These things are awesome. So anyway, he let me borrow these knives. I've had them for about a month now, and I love them. I've been just using them as basically a carry knife for self-defense. You know, I don't want to damage his knives. These are very expensive knives. I don't want to do anything to them, but in general, I was just carrying them just to get a feel for them, and I like them. This Barrage here, you guys probably know all about this knife already. If you're a knife guy, you probably heard of the Barrage, but it's basically a general purpose knife. It's more of a full-size knife, I would say. Definitely not a tiny little pocket knife like an everyday carry knife, although you could carry this every day. He also has some smaller knives too, but I'll get to those in a minute. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about this knife. So since I have the catalog here, I'll zip through some of the stats. I know a lot of you guys want to know some of the basic information about it, and then there's guys out there that don't want to hear all the stats that you can read right off the internet or read out of this book yourself. But I'm going to go ahead and do it anyways for some of the newer guys that may not know or have access to the information. Right off the bat, you probably want to know how much this sucker costs. They're not cheap. You know, this is an American-made knife made by American craftsmen with American steel and materials. Nothing's made out of the country. And you're going to pay a small premium for that. And I don't mind buying a knife and spending my money on American-made products. Especially now when everything seems to be made in Taiwan or China. I don't mind paying a little bit extra for American products. It comes in different blade styles and blade lengths. This one here is the 583 Tonto, which is that one right there. You can see right there. And the blade length for this one is 3.60 inches. The blade thickness is 0.121 inches. When it's open, the overall length is 8.35 inches. And when it's closed, let me go ahead and close it without cutting myself. When it's closed, it's 4.75 inches. The weight is 4.20 ounces or 119.7 grams. And the handle thickness is 0.65 inches. So there's the boring specs out of the way. So let's go ahead and move this out of the way and talk about this knife a little bit more. Alright, so as you can see, it's a spring assist, and for the record, Benchmade says that spring assist is not the same as an automatic. An automatic is where you, if you don't already know, you push a button and the thing pops open on its own, 100%. This one requires a 20 to 30 degree push on the blade, and I know there are some restrictions in some places that don't allow spring assisted blades, even though technically spring assisted is not the same as an automatic. But just to stay safe, Benchmade says that they will not ship a spring assisted blade to anyone without law enforcement or military credentials that you actually mail to them. I'm sure you guys can order them from other places, but Benchmade themselves will not ship you one without those credentials. And if I were you, I would double check your local laws just to keep you out of trouble when it comes to buying a spring assisted blade. Alright, the blade itself is made out of 154 cm stainless steel. The grips are a high grade polymer. They call it Velox. I don't know exactly what Velox is, but it seems like a high grade polymer. It has a little bit of this jimping, I guess you guys call that. I'm not a knife expert, but those serrations right there is pretty much all the grip you have, really, other than these scallop notches. That's all you really have to grip this thing, so it's kind of smooth. So if you were sweaty or bloody or your hands were wet for whatever reason, that may be a little bit of a concern for some people. But it's very smooth and slick. It does have a belt clip which can be reversed to the other side, and it has 3 Torx head bolts that secure that, so it's very solid. Another thing to note, the belt clip on this is oriented to only carry this blade in a tip-up style, meaning tip is pointing up, and then you put that on your belt. And there's no option to change it to a tip down, so that's something to be aware of if carrying a tip down is something that you like. A lot of people like carrying tip up just because when you grab the blade, your knife is ready to go, just like that. So to me, that's not a big deal. It does have an axis lock, and for those of you knife experts out there, I don't even have to tell you what an axis lock is. But for you newbies out there that may not know a lot about knives, an axis lock is basically a lock that locks the blade to the handle from this portion of the blade instead of this portion here, like a liner lock. And supposedly that makes it a lot stronger. So if you were, you know, fighting with this knife or really getting aggressive using this knife to do bushcraft or something, it's not going to accidentally close on you. And Benchmade takes it one step further and actually integrated a locking system. If you can see right there at the tip of my thumb, there's actually a lock. You push that forward, and now you can't even disengage that lock. So you can really get rough with this blade if you had to do some kind of work or if you're fighting for whatever reason. But that's kind of nice. I would assume if you got into a fight with a knife, you're not going to have the presence of mind to put the lock on. But it's more for bushcraft. The blade itself has a half and half, you know, half serrated, half straight edge. So that's kind of nice. And that really comes in handy when you have to cut material like cord or rope or whatnot. Kind of a sawing action comes in handy. Some people don't like the half and half, but I do. As far as utility goes, it's kind of nice to have that sawing action there as a alternative. That's the drop point style, and compared to the Tonto, as you can see, this is definitely more aggressive looking. I like that a lot. And then the liner itself, it has full steel, stainless steel liners, and some liners will have some of the material cut out and machined out to lighten up the blade. This one has circles drilled into it to lighten up the blade, so I wouldn't say it's a solid liner, but it does have full length liners. And then on the back here you have a lanyard loop hole, and basically that is so you can put 550 cord, like say this one here. You put 550 survival cord there. Do a million things with 550 cord if you're into survival and all that good stuff. And that's basically it. So let's go ahead and put this one up here, and we'll talk about the next one. The next up is the Benchmade Griptilian, and this knife is very well known, mostly because this knife won the Shooting Industry's Academy of Excellence Award in 2002. It was the knife of the year. So this has been around a long time, and so I probably don't have to say a whole lot about this, but in general this is about a $110 knife. And let's go ahead and get some of the specs for you guys who may be interested in the specs. The blade is 154 cm stainless steel. Blade length is 3.45 inches. Blade thickness is 0.115 inches. When it's fully opened, it's 8.07 inches. And when it's closed, it's 4.62 inches. And it weighs about 3.25 ounces. Or 92.13 grams, and the handle thickness is 0.64 inches. So those boring stats are out of the way. Let's talk about some of the details of this thing. Obviously not a spring assist. You have to fling this sucker on your own, but it does have the same axis lock, which is very strong. It does have the half and half, you know, serrated and straight edge. The design of the blade is a drop point. So for those of you who like drop points, that's kind of a sexy, traditional, classic style. Now compared to the Barrage, this one has all kinds of jimping all over it. It's very grippy, I guess is a word. But there's jimping on the front with some stainless steel liner jimping on there. And also on the back, there's some liner jimping, and also jimping on the blade up here on the top. And then on the back, a little bit more jimping and a little bit more there. And the grip panels also have some texturing right there on the glass-filled nylon handles. These are not G10 or Velox like the Barrage. We just call this glass-filled nylon, basically plastic, but still very, very high quality. Now, this one also has the axis lock, so I don't have to really talk about that much. You already know the benefits of an axis lock. That's kind of nice. The belt clip is a little bit more thicker than that one. And then you can switch this over to the other side if you're left-handed or right-handed. You can customize it to you. You have to carry this in the tip-up design. No tip-down option, just tip up because there's no holes up here on the frame. And it does have a lanyard loop there for your 550 cord. And that's pretty much it on this one. That is the Griptilian, more of a full-size one here. And then he also has a mini Griptilian, and this is about $100. And to me, this is more of a everyday carry knife because it's so small. Even though it's small, it's still substantial enough to do what you have to do, either in defensive or just doing any kind of whittling or cutting work. So that's kind of nice. And this is probably a lot more legal to carry a lot of different places. I know there's a lot of rules and regulations on what blade length you can carry in your pocket in some cities. So having a smaller mini version of the larger Griptilian is a nice option if you live in the city. You country folks out there, it probably doesn't matter. So, and this is basically the same thing except this one's an OD green. So same exact features though. Very nice. Alright, so those are the Benchmade knives that my buddy Mike let me borrow for a while. Like I said, I've had these for a little over a month now, and after carrying these knives for over a month, I have to admit I love them. They're great, and I'm sold on Benchmade. I'm definitely going to be buying this knife for myself in the future. That spring assist is just awesome. That is lightning fast. Very cool. Alright guys, so as usual, stay safe. Something to be aware about when it comes to working with spring assist blades. I know it looks harmless, but that spring assist force, when that blade flings out, it's pretty strong. I mean, it's significant. And I was actually goofing around with this just now on camera, and I'm in an awkward position because of the camera. But I flung this blade open like this, and it flew past my other hand, and it just nicked my other hand. It kind of went like that, whoop, just like that, and the back of the blade just swung past my finger, and I just cut myself. So, so just something to be aware of. You got to be careful when you're handling these knives, especially the spring assist, because once it gets past that point where the spring takes over, that thing has some force to it, and my hand was right about here when it flung open and just nicked it. So be careful with these things.